From the I24 News Studios in Times Square in New York, this is Crossroads with David Schuster and Michelle McCoy.
The United States is reconfirming its support for Saudi Arabia's proxy war with Iran in Yemen.
U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis just met with Saudi officials in Riyadh, and Mattis said that Iran is destabilizing the Middle East and that influence would have to be overcome in order to end the conflict in Yemen. The war has left at least 10,000 dead and more than 3 million people displaced. Mattis says that the United States wants a UN-brokered peace deal, but privately, U.S. officials say the Trump administration is considering more directly assisting Gulf allies in their fight against Iran-backed militias.
Now that we have the blessing of our leadership, that it's important that we actually do something with it. We actually do something as we reinforce Saudi Arabia's resistance to Iran's mischief and make you more effective with your military as we work together as partners.
Joining us now is Ryan Mauro. He's a national security analyst with the Clarion Project. Ryan, the United States providing even more weapons to Saudi Arabia in the civil war in Yemen. Is that a wise idea?
I see no other choice. Unfortunately, Iran is making a strategic move in the region, particularly in Yemen, but there could also be other places that are of concern to the Saudis. When the Saudis look at Yemen and Iran's progress there, it's not just about Yemen per se. There's a province within Saudi Arabia, the eastern province, that's majority Shia. That's also where the majority of Saudi Arabia's oil is at. So I can understand why from the Saudi perspective, and therefore the American perspective, having Iran succeed in Yemen then allows them to say, okay, well, we found a formula that works. What are we going to go after next? It could be Bahrain, and it could be the eastern province of Saudi Arabia.
Well, Ryan, with the United States having an increased military activity in the Middle East with those attacks in Syria after that chemical attack, and of course that mother of all bombs in Afghanistan, what signal does this send?
Well, it sends one of strength, that we are going to be proactive, not reactive, and basically that the United States can't be messed with as we were over the past 8 years. So it's a message of strength, but there are things that we can improve. For example, with our support to the Saudis, we should condition it based on them opening up their society at least a little bit. Have there be an effort to reach out to the Shia population in Yemen, because the Shia population is there. They're not going away, and we need to cause a split between those that are loyal to Iran and those that want to move forward in peace. So there are some demands of the Saudis that we should be making.
And it may help the U.S.-Saudi relationship for the United States to be more involved. But Ryan, isn't it fair to say that the civil war in Yemen is essentially a draw, despite the Saudis having some very aggressive bombing tactics and whatnot, even on civilian population areas?
Right now, yes, that is definitely true. They are at a stalemate right now. And so the U.S. needs to change that, because you don't want Iran developing essentially a terrorist base on that Yemeni-Saudi border. It also gives them access to the sea there, so it's a threat to the shipping lanes. But again, part of the reason for that stalemate is because you have the Shia population there that is being led by Iranian proxies, and it shouldn't have to be that way. One of the problems is that the Shia forces there that embrace Iranian proxies because they have no other defender. And if there is an outreach effort to say that they can be part of the future of Yemen, perhaps we can cause a split between those that are loyal to Iran and then those that just genuinely want peace and just want to be included in the government.
Maybe I wasn't very clear on my question. The point is it really possible to win the civil war in Yemen? I mean, to tip the balance so much to the Saudi side that is essentially a victory?
Sure, because if you at least reduce Iranian influence to the point where you don't have to worry about them having a terror base there, where it becomes part of a strategic or an ideological threat, then that's victory. Are you going to eliminate all the Iranian proxies? No, but if you can get it to a point where this military intervention, like we're seeing now with all the civilian casualties, is no longer necessary, I would consider that to be a victory. We want Yemen to move forward.
Ryan, the United States is fighting ISIS in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is fighting ISIS, but so is Iran. So does it in a way help to strengthen Iran if the U.S. is successful in its fight against ISIS?
Iranian influence is wonderful for Sunni terrorists. Sunni terrorists are able to come in and point to Iranian influence and say, look, we are the protectors of the Sunnis, and then that enables them to get recruits as people rally behind them. And it also works the same way for Iran, where Iran will come in and say, you may not like us, you may not like Assad in Syria, but it's better than ISIS and Al-Qaeda, so you better work with us. So we have to have a strategy that simultaneously goes after both extremes in the region, and alternatives do exist, like the Syrian Democratic Forces in Syria, which is an alliance of Sunni Arabs, Christians, and Kurds, all working together against ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and in the future, other Islamist forces.
Ryan Mauro, thanks for that analysis.